Hello everybody, welcome back to another Tuesday Talk. It's my first Tuesday Talk of December. And yes, I am back. We need to take a moment to talk about last week when I asked you all, did you want me to carry on with the High Fat Carnivore for December Tuesday Talks, because I myself was going to carry on with it, as you know, as far as what I'm following, and I just wasn't sure if you guys wanted to hear more about that, and I guess it was a resounding yes. In fact, it was a broken record for me as far as number of comments on a video. There was over 500 comments on that video. So I was a little blown away that so many people are interested in this topic. Yeah, I'm going to get to my results of the last week. I have a couple of interesting things to share. But I do want to talk about comments for a moment, because it has, they have been increasing on every video. I mean, I get minimum of 100 and all the way up to, 300 comments on every video. And I always felt, that I need to answer them all. But after last week, I think that took me 4 or 5 hours to, and I don't even know if I got them all. I may not have. So I have to find a balance. I have to kind of prioritize my time. Do I want to spend 4 hours doing another video or answering comments? And I feel like I can do more good or more service by, prioritizing actually making the videos, preparing for the videos, that kind of thing. So I'm not saying I'm not going to answer comments anymore, but what I'm saying is I'm going to have to allow a certain amount of time, answer the most urgent ones, like if somebody really has a question or they're struggling or with something. And the rest of them, I'm going to hit like and heart so that I've seen it, because I do want to see them all. And it's just something that's important to me. I want you to know that I appreciate every single comment. It's just that it's squeezing me, and I don't want to burn out. I hope you guys understand, and I hope that makes sense. So I just wanted to say that. And then speaking of comments, I probably should mention that YouTube, like if you post a comment and you say, hey, Anita, you should watch this video because it talks about, something relevant here, and you put a link to the video, I rarely will see that comment. I might find it in the YouTube suspended comments section if I happen to go in there. YouTube they don't like that, and they don't particularly allow that. So I don't know why. I guess because they're worried about where it may lead. I don't know. I can only speculate. And then sometimes YouTube, for no reason at all, it just their bots pick up a certain word they don't, that is associated with spam. There's been times when I go into the held comments section, and there can be a dozen comments in there, and I look at them and I'm like, there's nothing wrong, approve, approve, approve. And then the other thing that happens is every now and then YouTube has held some comments somewhere where I can't see them in their own space, and then they release them all at once. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and it's happened before, where they released about 20 or 30 comments that were all 3 months old. So I honestly don't know. So, there may be times when I don't even see them. I just wanted you to know that. So be careful about including links, and I don't even know what words to warn you about, because some of them made no sense to me. I mean, they certainly do hold comments, that have foul language, or those ones where they call me names because I eat meat or whatever. They hold those ones. And those ones, I generally just block the person so that they can stop, wasting their time putting negative comments on my YouTube channel, because they're not going to see the light of day anyways. So, yeah. But anyways, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the vote of confidence. Overwhelming. The people have spoken, and I'm going to continue with these Tuesday talks, and I'm going to continue talking about high fat carnivore, which right now is a subject I'm very excited about. So let's get to results for the last week. I have my Dr. Boz sheet here, and it'll be up there so you can follow. I had to kind of shrink down the top so that the whole thing could fit on the screen. And we've gone over those first ones anyways, but I wanted to keep it so that I could see just how much how my numbers have improved. But there's a couple of things on here that I wanted to point out to you. So I added evening butter, as you know, a week or so ago, and that brought up a lot of questions. People want to know, how much butter am I eating to get a better night's sleep? 1 tablespoon. It's just 1 tablespoon. I have it before I go to bed. I either just eat the chunk of butter, or I might have 3 little brown butter bites that I keep in the freezer. There's nothing, they're completely unsweetened. There's nothing in them. They're just the plain brown butter bites. Yeah, a tablespoon about an hour before I go to bed. And I don't know. I don't think it's just the tablespoon of butter before bed. I think it's the whole thing where I'm eating more butter, or more fat. I shouldn't say butter, because it's not all butter, but I'm eating, more fat than I used to, plus the tablespoon of butter before bed. I think that whole thing is maybe kind of relaxing my cortisol spikes and helping me to sleep. So before I would fall asleep, say between 9 and 10, get up at 2 to go to the bathroom. This happens at my age, I guess, and even though I try not to drink anything in the evening, but then I couldn't fall back asleep. So what's happening now is I'm sleeping for a good solid 6 hours. I do wake up to go to the bathroom, but I'm able to fall back asleep again. Well, that is the key. Before, I would be struggling, tossing, turning, I'd maybe fall asleep 10 minutes before I had to get up for work. So no fun. So it's a huge improvement, and I feel really blessed about being able to get better sleep, because that just affects everything, doesn't it? It just makes me feel so much better. So that was one thing that I was able to, so with adding the evening butter here, my GKI was up in the 3s, which is pretty decent. I'm not unhappy with those numbers at all. Then last Monday, I decided to do a fat fast, and that was on the 28th, and then you can see I have a little arrow where it says morning after fat fast. So the morning after the fat fast, you can see there's kind of a significant difference. I'm down back into the 2s, 2.8, yes, for GKI. I have a Dr. Boz ratio of 50.6. That effect seemed to hold over for another day. Again, good ratios there. Then the day after that, I had my best ever Dr. Boz ratio, first time ever under 40. And that was because on the 30th, I, for the first time, hit, I think it was because of that. I'm no doctor, I'm no expert. I'm only kind of making some conclusions from, tracking this. But that was the first day that I was able to hit the 200 gram of fat goal that I have for myself, to hit 200 in a day. And so, excellent ratios. My ketones showed a 2 for the first time ever. They've always been below 2. 1.7 is a good one, and then generally around 1.4, 1.5. So then the next day was sort of a normal day, and you can see I kind of went back to normal. Then I had another 200 grams of fat. I hit that target again, and you can see like it's not as good as it was. I didn't get below 40 for Dr. Boz, but I did get a higher ketone and a excellent GKI, and that seems to be carrying over a little bit. So I have decided that I'm going to do, tomorrow's Monday, and I know you're seeing this on Tuesday, so it will have already happened. I'm going to do another fat fast tomorrow, but I'm going to get to that in a moment because a lot of you asked me to keep showing examples of a high fat carnivore meal because it helps you, with ideas for what to make. So that's the next chart that you're going to see up on the screen. I've got the pictures here so I can follow. So this is 2 days worth of food, and each of these days was more than 80% fat. And so these are typical days for me. So this day, so the top left picture is meat chips with butter on them. Some high-fat liver pate that I had made, and some of it I put on half a BBBE bun. So, that was it was actually a fairly big meal, because some of these meals that I've had are, they feel kind of small sometimes, but they're very filling. So that was that meal, and then my second meal of the day was 2 eggs and fat trimmings, about an ounce of fat trimmings, and that was in brown butter. Then my third meal of the day was some stew meat, a tablespoon of butter, and a tablespoon of tallow. Now what is not shown here is that I also normally now am starting my day with a tablespoon of butter in my coffee, and in the evening I'm having that tablespoon of butter before bed. So those 2 tablespoons are on top of what you see here. And the other thing I want to point out is that not all the fat I consume is in butter form. So let's address that for a moment, because I'm getting people saying to me, I added a stick of butter to my day and I'm gaining weight. It's not that simple. It's like I put a lot of time and effort and research into this for myself, and I'm tracking carefully because I'm counting the fat that's already in the meat I'm eating towards my 80%. So if I have a day where it's 80-85% fat, it's not all butter. Some of it is meat fat. Like you can see the stew meat there. Hopefully you can see it's very fatty, and the beef fat trimmings are very fatty. The liverwurst or the liver pate that I made, extremely fatty. So it's not all butter, and it doesn't have to be butter. And in fact, some people have histamine issues apparently with butter. I don't. I'm very grateful for that, but some do. So you might have, if you want to do this, it might have to look different for you. And also there are people who tell me they don't want to track. They came to carnivore because they didn't have to track, and they don't want to track. So if that's you and you're holding firm to that, then I do have a suggestion that could help you. You don't have to track. You could make each of your meals 3 or 4 ounces of meat. And 3 or 4 ounces of meat, depending on the meat, will have roughly 25 to 30 grams of protein in it. The 3 to 4 ounces of meat is the weight of the meat, and the 25 to 30 grams is how much protein that particular meat contains. It is not the weight. okay? So if you did that, say each of your meals had 3 or 4 ounces of protein, which if you remember from school, it's about the size of the palm of your hand, just put 2 tablespoons of extra fat with that and do that 3 times a day. And you'll basically hit these targets fairly closely. And that's for those who don't want to track, can't track, refuse to track, whatever. But that's one way you could do this if you so want. So the second day here is my favorite meal, always shows up usually. That's a 4-ounce beef burger, raw weight, and then it shrinks down to about 3.5 ounces cooked. It contains about 26 grams of protein in it. And I've got a tablespoon of fat there. Actually, there might have been 2 tablespoons of fat because I see some melted butter on the side there. Sometimes when I don't capture the whole thing. Oh yeah, so like this can of sardines, I did not eat those sardines by themselves. I had 2 tablespoons of butter with that. I do try to include sardines every day, like at least every other day I try to have a can of sardines. And then my last meal for that day was 4 ounces raw weight of lean sirloin, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of mascarpone cheese. I don't know if I probably did not pronounce that correctly. I guarantee it. I know one of you will correct me, so go ahead. But you know, it's that really high fat Italian cheese that people can use in cheesecakes and whatnot. So it's quite good. I think it's the only dairy I had, that week. So that's 2 days of kind of typical meals. Now let's take a look at the fat fast, because a lot of you, when I mentioned it before, wanted to know more about it and how I did it. And so you're going to see another picture. Here is my last Monday, day of fat fast. So my first meal, top left, was chunks of suet in the air fryer, and I weighed out 2 ounces. That shrinks so much, and there's so much fat left in the bottom of the air. I mean, I was able to fill a small, a little jar with tallow, nice tallow too, after air frying this. My next meal was a tallow bite, a whipped tallow bite. I can't say I loved that. I loved that it looked like a pretty snowflake. That's about it. It kind of leaves a bit of a waxy feeling in my mouth. So I can't say it was my favorite meal ever. But I ate it for the benefits of this N=1 experiment that I'm doing. I needed something better by the time I got to my third meal, and I had 4 tablespoons of that same cheese, the mascarpone? I don't know. Anyways, I'll figure it out. So that high-fat cheese, 4 tablespoons. My favorite meal of this day was beef fat trimmings, and that's on the bottom. And they were delicious, and I was able to obtain a whole bag full. So I have decided... Oh, well, before we say that, let's talk about the carbs and all that stuff here. So it was over 2,000 calories that day. So on the higher end, I'm usually like 1,700 to 1,900, and this went a little bit higher because there was so much fat. Protein, 12.6 grams. Now I know it's called a fat fast, but there is still a little bit of protein in there if you're, especially if you're doing beef fat trimmings or some of the, like the cheese, for example. The carbs, 2.8 grams, does come from that cheese. The fat was 221 grams. So the ratio was 93% fat and 3% protein. And I believe I read somewhere that the fat fast should be over 90% of fat. And I can't remember where I read that. It might have, I don't know. Anyways, it was 93%. I was happy with that, and I was happy with how it affected my ratios the next day. So now that I have 1 day of fat fast under my belt, I've decided to do it again. I'm going to do it tomorrow, and I'm going to turn the camera on and film that day, including some of the prep stuff. Like, how do you get these tallow or these suet bites? What does it look like in the store? What are the fat options that you can have that day? A better way, or I'm not going to say better, but a tastier way to me to make these tallow bites. I started mixing them with butter instead of just by themselves. So I'm going to show you all that, and it'll, by the time you see it, a week might have gone by, but you will see it coming up. And so I'm kind of actually looking forward to doing this fat fast again tomorrow, not only because I've kind of worked out what I like and what I don't like, but also because I like the effect that it has on my race shows. And did I mention, I don't know if I did or not, so this past week, I do weigh myself the morning of the filming of my weekly Tuesday talk, and so I have lost another half a pound this week, which is kind of it's very comparable to what I was doing before. I was doing regular carnivore and / ketovore some days, so much higher protein, much lower fat, much lower calories. I'm eating more calories, and my weight loss is kind of, chugging along at about the same pace. So I guess I have to say I'm pretty happy with that. I'm grateful that it's not going up. And I think the reason it's not going up is because I am, just like, and no, I don't know if I really want to say that, because I know that some people have been successful just adding a stick of butter to whatever they were already eating. Those people are out there. I feel like all the ones that I've seen, though, are pretty young and fit already and don't have 50, 60 years of obesity behind them. Maybe I just haven't seen those people yet. Maybe they are out there. But all the ones that I've seen up to this point kind of fit a different criteria than someone like me, who I think I need to eat adequate protein and high fat. I'm convinced of it right now. So we'll see what happens, in a few weeks' time. Which reminds me again of one other thing I want to mention. I have signed up for group coaching. I'm in one of Kelly Hogan's group coaching groups in December, and tomorrow is the first one, so I'm kind of excited about that, and I'm hoping to learn from her, because she learned, my understanding is that she took Dr. Boz's course, and she, with all those interviews she does with people, she learns so much from other people like Amber O'Hearn and Stephanie Person, Dr. Bright. So that's why I want to take that coaching, is because I feel like I can learn a lot, and anything I learn, of course, it benefits you guys, I hope, because I want to be better at this, understand it more, and share correct information. I don't ever want to share information that is bad or incorrect or, nothing is going to work for everybody, because we're all different ages and different backgrounds. And I just want to stress again, if what you're doing is working, just keep doing it. For me, I felt like I needed to get to the bottom of my slow progress, which hasn't speeded up. I give you that. But it also, hasn't hurt my progress. My progress has been about the same, but I feel like it's a good thing if my ketones are higher, my blood glucose is lower. I feel like that facilitates some healing, according to what I'm hearing from people like Dr. Bright. So that's my take on it. And thank you so much for all of you who voted me back onto the island of Tuesday Talks for the month of December. Thank you for all your comments. Even if I can't get to them all, I'm gonna do my best. But just so you know that my first priority is videos, making the videos, bringing the information. And the other thing I want to thank people for is just all the support in general. Like, the comments are generally so positive. I mean, people share, they tell me they share my videos. Thank you so much. People that are buying me coffees, I mean, thank you so much. Like, anyone, watching the video, sharing it, liking it, making a comment, whether I can get to it or not, all those things help boost the video up in the YouTube algorithm so that more people see it and more people get this information and can benefit hopefully from it. I mean, that's really what I'm going for here. So thank you for whatever you do to help that happen. I appreciate you guys so much. And I have to say I was pretty overwhelmed by the response. So thank you. Thank you. So that's it for today's Tuesday Talk. And tomorrow is the Fat Fast, and I will be back with that next week. So we'll see you guys next time on the next video.